And say so. Welcome everyone to our weekly call. I'll just share my screen or share my slides. So you should be able to see those on your device. The plan this week is to focus on DNS for you. I'd asked Robert Seffer, the CTO from Whalebone, to reprise an update he gave at the recent DNS OARC meeting, and then perhaps we just have a sort of conversation around that as well. But it doesn't look like Robert's going to join. So we'll, if he does join partway through, we will flex accordingly. So we'll sort of switch around to allow him to give us that update. So let's see. But in the meantime, there's a lot of news around, so I was going to, in any case, spend a little bit of time just talking about some of the various updates. So let's do that. If Robert joins, then we'll switch back to do the DNS for EU discussion. So if for some reason he joins and I don't notice, please feel free to make a noise and draw that to my attention. In the meantime, though, just to sort of highlight some of the sort of recent stuff in the news, I'll go through. There's a fair few of these. So just from the top, you'll see Echo with their top DNS initiative. They did a joint session with the DNS Research Institute last week, talking about sort of good practice in the DNS. And the replay is now available. So you'll see the link there on the screen for that. And as always, I'll include all these links with the link to the recording post call. So that'd be sort of, I think, worth your time dipping into if you can, just to sort of pick up on that. Also, one of the things we were chatting about just before the call started was the sort of DNS week a couple of weeks back in Vietnam. Roy Aaron's part of the ICANN team has sort of put a blog post with his thoughts on the ICANN DNS symposium, one of the 4 days of DNS sort of focused discussions in Vietnam. So you'll find that available on the ICANN site. So again, link on the screen. Worth a look. And as we were discussing just before the call, I will separately seek guidance from the OARC team just to confirm when the recordings from the OARC sessions, that's days 3 and 4 of the events, are likely to become available. They're not yet up on the OARC site. A few other things you'll see on the screen. There's an initiative sort of linked to DNS, with Nominet and various others in Europe doing some information sharing, which is good to see. The more of that, the better, in my humble opinion. I'm not sure if that's going to hook in the DNS for EU resolver in due course. It'd be good if it did. And one of a couple of blog posts from Jeff Houston of APNIC. He's got an in-depth article measuring the use of DNSSEC, which any of you that know Jeff and are familiar with his articles, you might anticipate is very data rich, as always. The sort of less than 1 sentence summation of his very thoughtful article is DNSSEC adoption still has got a very long way to go. But that's absolutely not doing justice to the sort of very thoughtful and detailed article that he's written. So worth a look to understand that. As always, he unpacks the question before looking at the data to arrive at an answer. So always data rich when he looks into a subject like that. Um, uh, one of the people that has joined these calls from time to time, Levi Siskor, dropped me a line last week. He's written a Medium article looking at the use of the DNS crypt proxy in order to see how well it performs as an aid to DNS privacy. Basically, what he's tested is the use of the DNS crypt proxy to rotate between a number of different resolvers, not just using DNS crypt, but different DNS protocols. And basically, again, to not do full justice to his article, it seems to work quite well. The price for the increased privacy is latency, which is not a particular surprise. And I intend to ask Levi to join this call in the next few weeks to just sort of talk about the testing he undertook and his experiences, because I thought it was quite interesting. But I'll welcome other people's thoughts on that if you've had a chance to look at his write-up in Medium. But yeah, I thought it was quite an interesting article that he's written. And speaking of interesting articles, the second of the two posts from Jeff that I picked up on, DNS is the new BGP, if I can speak properly. But basically, again, with plenty of data and a lot of detail, Jeff has looked into service routing using the DNS and has highlighted concerns about the implications for centralization on the back of that. Previous comments apply about it being data rich, etc., etc. So if you have a little bit of time, those two blog posts from Jeff are definitely worth your attention. But you probably will need to set aside a little bit of time to read both of them properly. But since it's always the DNS, as we know, and if it's not, it's the BGP, to find out that you can substitute one for the other is quite fun. So to make it even greater chance that it will be the fault of the DNS in the future. But as I say, with some such negative connotations around centralization this time round. Just changing screens, and I won't go through all of these, but there is quite again interesting write-up. DNS Research Federation also have taken a look at DNS abuse, and in particular brand-based DNS abuse, and how to identify that and how brands can protect their intellectual property using the DAP Live tool that the DNS Research Federation has developed, and there's a write-up in there on their blog, so that's potentially worth a look. I see Tal's just put in the chat, just referring back to the I think Jeff's article on routing using the DNS, that often when people complain about the DNS, it's a BGP issue. Well, maybe in the future it will be the DNS anyway, including when they think it's a BGP issue. But there you are. All right, so back to this slide. There's been an update to the NOT software, which now supports DNS over QUIC, which is good to see. A bit more support for DNS over QUIC, which has been, in my view, a bit quiet since that was standardized. I've not seen an awful lot about it since the standard was finalized, 18 months ago, roughly now. Others may well have picked up more than me on that, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot about it. So yeah, it's good to see that NOT now supports DOQ. Just two other things I'll pull out. One is we had a sort of discussion around text records a few weeks back, which Peter Lowe, previously of DNS Filter, now of ICANN, talked about, and you'll see there's now a very interesting article looking at the use of text records for malware execution. So I guess Peter will want to take a look at that to add that to his joy of text presentation when he next does that. But yes, creative security exploits as always. And then you'll see underneath that a whole series of other sort of malware orientated sort of DNS flavored elements as always, including the one I highlight, decoy dog, seems to continue to evolve. So a further article on that, looking at how it uses the DNS for command and control. So that continues to run. Again, I think it's at least 6 months since that was picked up by Infoblox amongst others. And it seems to have been sort of changing in the wild over that time. I think that was all the news articles. There are quite a few of those this week. A few non-DNS sort of things which caught my eye. I won't go through all of these, but yeah, quite a couple of them. Cisco acquiring Splunk. I think it was quite big news. I think that was a back end last week. Quite a significant acquisition by Cisco, which I think I can see the business logic for that in the enterprise space. I won't comment whether it's a good or a bad thing because I don't really have an opinion on that. I'm guessing some of you on the call may well do. The other couple of things this week, one is a UK centric one. The online safety bill completed all of the key parliamentary stages last week. It's not quite law yet. There's one more bureaucratic stage it has to go through, but it's completed all of the main sort of legislative activities now. So we'll now move into law in the UK shortly. After many years, it seems, of processing through Parliament. It's about 3 or 4 years, I think, that has taken. So that will have some implications, certainly for the UK, but I suspect for other markets as well, because I know various other parliaments have been watching that through on its slow process into legislation to see how the tech sector reacts and potentially then influence their own decisions. And then just the other one I'll highlight is a report that caught my eye, The Future of Privacy by Design, published by CETUS, which is part of the Alan Turing Institute, which, yeah, I think worth a look. I think it's a particular sort of take on that topic, but I know they did consult with a wide range of stakeholders, judging from the write-up. So some of you, I think, will find that of interest. I think that was pretty much everything from me. I can see some conversations in the chat about the DNS and routing, so that seems to have caught a few people's imagination. We'll maybe come back to that in a moment if Robert Sefer, that is, hasn't joined us. So if we don't do the DNS for EU conversation, we may just pick up on that further if that's of interest to people, just to get your thoughts. But to give you a chance to prepare those thoughts, few sort of deadlines coming up. So although the event itself, the RSA conference, doesn't take place till next May in San Francisco, the deadline is called for submissions for sort of presentations, etc. Is approaching in a couple of weeks, 6th of October. So sort of more than 6 months before the conference itself, but I think because they have so many proposals, they need a long time to sift through them and determine a coherent program. So if you're interested in that, which is a pretty enormous CISO audience in particular, I think I mentioned when I was there last year, there were 40,000 people in person plus, so a very, very significant event, which takes place once a year in San Francisco. Also, Ripe Labs are running an article competition, which, if I remember rightly, the main prize is free access to their next Ripe event. I think, but tickets and travel for the winner, and tickets for the event, but not travel for some runners up. So that may be of interest to some people. The cut-off for internet drafts prior to the next ITF meeting, not so far away, well, about 4 weeks to be fair, 23rd of October. And also, I think this was announced last week, the call for presentations for OARC 42, even though OARC 41 is only just behind us. Already the call's out for presentations for OARC 42, so very efficient of the programme committee to get moving on that so swiftly. So if anyone's got any thoughts on that, you can submit those, I think at least an abstract, on the OARC website. Is what's being asked for at this stage, but you do have plenty of time, a couple of months before the actual deadline. And I think the next event will be co-located with NANOG in the spring in the States. I can't quite remember off the top of my head where NANOG will be then, but it will co-locate with NANOG this time around. And then there's quite a few events coming up. It's the time of the year for events. So ICANN are hosting a couple of calls sort of today and tomorrow around implications for encryption on public policy in various different languages. It's I think an hour and a half call, but they're running several of them to suit different time zones and different languages today and tomorrow. Which may be of interest to some people. If you find yourself in the UK tomorrow and Wednesday, it's the International Cyber Expo, and there's an accompanying conference, security-orientated conference over the next couple of days, which if you are there tomorrow, you might bump into me. Probably not on Wednesday, to be fair, but certainly tomorrow. And also this week, UK NOF is taking place in London as well. And then you'll see on Friday, it's the European Commission's high-level group on internet governance, which I keep putting more details to follow. They normally have published the agenda by now, but I've not seen it yet. So hopefully that will come out imminently. We'll talk about that on the call next week, if there's anything interesting arising. And then before we know it, we've got the Internet Governance Forum in a couple of weeks' time in Kyoto. Again, hopefully I'll see some of you in person there. Then NANOG, ICANN, etc., etc. So we've got a whole run of things through to the end of the calendar year. And then starting again, actually answering my earlier question, I think the next OARC meeting will be in Charlotte alongside NANOG 90, if I remember rightly. Yes, as it says on the screen. And so on. So plenty of stuff over the next few months on the agenda. So next week we'll talk about anything interesting coming out of the Commission's call this Friday, and also I'll just highlight some of the more interesting sessions on the agenda for the IGF meeting. It will only be a small number of the total, because it's normally a vast number of things on the agenda. So far too many to talk about in a reasonable amount of time. So just be a small selection of those. We'll just highlight in case you're planning to attend either in person or remotely. We won't have a call the following week because of the clash with the IGF meeting, the different time zone wise. And then, as you can see, got various things through to the end of this month on the agenda. I think that's it from me. I'm not seeing Robert Seffer on the list of participants, so I'm going to pause there and see what else people want to talk about, including routing using the DNS instead of or alongside BGP, judging from a few things in the chat. And I can see Morg, Vicky's put on the in the chat. I'll add that to my list of events. Actually, probably should be on there anyway. Coming up also in October, so plenty of different things to do. Should you want to attend stuff either in person or remotely over the next few months. But let me stop sharing my screen see what else people want to talk about. So Kurt was fastest to react by raising his hand. So Kurt, do you want to unmute and sort of jump on?
Yeah, hi. I don't know if you have seen it in the last couple of years, the amount of junk that gets sent to root name servers is, from my opinion, a little bit troublesome. And I wonder if we could have some initiative or some recommendations how to avoid sending junk to root name servers. Because I think at the end, if you look at the ratio between requests that make sense, that deserve an answer for root name servers. I mean, most of good DNS maintainers have anyway a copy of the root zone and don't even bother the root name servers. But nevertheless, they are the key for operations for DNS. And if you have seen statistics, I don't know, there are some public root name server request statistics. And if you look at the ratio, good requests versus junk requests, this is incredibly troublesome, or worse, I would say, really bad for the whole operators there, because they make a whole lot of effort to keep the root name servers running as they are in multiple instances and Anycast and you name it. But still, as you look at the sheer amount of requests they get and what of them are good requests, this is strange where they are all coming from. I mean, even an analysis, who will be the most top, I don't know, 100 senders of junk root name servers would be interesting to me, to find them out, or to tell them, hey, your software is creating this stuff, or your organization is not taking care of your code or something, because this should be really systematic, I think.
Fair. What do other people, certainly not me, not an area of expertise I would claim, but do other people have insight into that? Because yeah, I think it's a good point from my limited understanding of the subject area, Kurt. Anyone else have a view on that in terms of the amount of junk that gets through to the root name servers? Robert, and Philippe. Yeah, Robert first.
Hi. Yeah, sadly I can't give you a definitive answer on that, because I'm definitely not the technologist in the room. But I'm with ISC, which is one of the 12 root server operators, and I know that there are other root server operators represented in the room as well. The only thing that I can say is that I know that in the past there have been concerted efforts to attempt to knock down the root server system with a distributed denial of service attack, and that has never succeeded and has never come close to being successful because of a number of things that the RSOs do. So whatever the flood of nonsense traffic is, and I have heard that there is a lot of nonsense traffic, it's the sense that I have is that it's not nearly at a level or of a type that would cause operational concern. Now, subject to what my colleagues from other RSOs have to say, I'd be happy to go talk to Ray, who manages FRoot for our company, to see if he wants to come in and say any more about that at a time to be scheduled in the future. But that's my initial observation.
Okay, thanks.
I can try to dig out some statistics for our next meeting and show you that, because it's not a DDoS thing or a temporary attack vector or something. This is just plain, constant, 24-hour noise that's hammering all types of root name servers. And that's what I am seeing. And it's not decreasing, it's increasing over time.
Well, certainly, if you wanted to do that, Kurt, then we could maybe use that to then trigger a further discussion. Always good to start with some data. That would be a helpful thing to do. Yeah. So yeah, if you could do that, yeah, then we're happy. We could then maybe schedule a follow-up discussion, give people a chance to absorb that, and then come back and give their insights. Yeah, be that Ray and others from the other root operators. That could be quite a useful thing to do. So other thoughts on that? Suzanne, I think is next.
Yeah, just from a lot of years of association with multiple root server operations, Currently, I'm associated with USC. What Rob said is basically the sort of consensus over the years. There has always been lots of junk traffic to the root servers. There always probably will be, because there are various causes, and the causes evolve over time. It's the provisioning concern is not about junk traffic. It's about provisioning for DDoS, which is sort of the normal thing. And there has been other work done on this. There's been other research, which I do not have at my fingertips. But basically, it's a known condition, and with a very, very long history behind it. Every once in a great while, there's an identifiable cause that leads to more junk traffic. And if there's an identifiable cause and an identifiable agent, folks go back to whoever's involved and just say, maybe you could alter your practices a little bit. But the fact is that there are so many different causes of bogus traffic to the roots, given that the root is just sort of the fall through for everything else, that there's limited ability to control it, but also limited room to worry about any operational impact. And I see Tal has his hand up, and he has probably some operational perspective to add too.
Yeah, well, actually, what I wanted to add, because Robert, despite not being the technologist and being one of those lawyerly types, had it basically right. I wanted to just also observe that the ICANN has the root server system advisory committee, and RSAC is actually a group of root server operators, and has also formed the RSAC caucus, which is other DNS that are interested in the topic. And among the many technical reports that are put out by RSAC and the RSAC caucus are ones that study exactly this very question of how the Robert says basically right is his highest aspiration. And this very specific issue of, so what about junk queries to the roots, has been studied many times, and the basic conclusion of operators is, yes, this sucks, we wish it would go down, so we definitely like things like operators caching copies of the root zone and so on. However, we still have to kind of plan for the possibility that an active DOS would be even orders of magnitude more traffic. And so when it comes down to it, as was mentioned, the low-level noise is not something that they're concerned about. It should be cleaned up, but it's a regular topic of that's being monitored and aware of. So, and I regret right now that I had another meeting that started 4 minutes ago that I have to drop for. So I'll see you all next week.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Tal. Helpful. As always, and yes, lovely comment from Robert. Being basically right is a good thing to be, as it says in the chat. Zaid, did you have?
Yes. Thanks. Thanks, Andrew. So yeah, I think even though there's been a lot of studies and analysis on this, I think it'd be good to have maybe an active list or lists of let's say top X polluters, if you will, kind of running live, and then that way whoever can do something about this, they can kind of address this and reduce the amount. I'll look into it from my side. I will look into what I can get in terms of data and share it with the team.
Thanks for that. So, okay, well, let's if Kurt, if you're up for it, then perhaps if you wanted to do a little bit of sort of data gathering, perhaps we could pick up that briefly next week, and then with a view to then teeing up a further conversation, give people to have a chance to look at that and follow up. And I might reach out to my sort of friends in the DNS Research Federation to see if they have any data they could also usefully bring to bear. I don't know if they do or not, but sort of feels like the sort of thing that might fit in their sort of brief as well, just to add to help inform the discussion.
One additional comment. What I've seen, I mean, you can run your own root instance and look at the request and see for yourself what's going out to the root name server, which is destination. And I'm observing, especially Microsoft products that look for something blah blah dot local, which is not supposed to leave the enterprise network.
Yeah.
Things like that are not supposed to be in the public internet, asking stupid things to the root name service.
Yeah, so it might be interesting then to start to quantify that at least. And as Zaid said, perhaps if there was a sort of a list of the top X offenders, for lack of a better word.
Let's call them polluters.
Polluters, yes, that's a better word than offenders. Thank you. Yes, I didn't mean to put words in your mouth there, Zaid. I couldn't think. Precisely. Yes, the top X polluters. That ought to be a good thing. Yeah, good idea.
Another example I have seen is, for example, reverse DNS pointer requests for enterprise networks like 10.x or the appropriate v6 areas that are not supposed FE 80x, for example. Things that are supposed to stay local would never make sense to get requests in the public, so they will never get an answer.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, that sounds like that could be an interesting topic to dig into. So yeah, good thing to call out. Thank you. And I will see Philippe has put a comment about conducted a study on this. Okay, so there's some work has been done in this area, I suppose, unsurprisingly as well, which is a good thing. Excellent. Right, are there other things that people sort of caught your eye this week? Things on your minds currently that it'd be useful just to catch up on? Not seeing anything else in the chat currently, and I don't see any other hands raised just now. No. All right, well, I think we've added basically right and technically correct to the vernacular. In my head, at least, that they probably add alongside mostly harmless. Those of you that have got knowledge of gaming back in the day, as another useful label. I think that was on Elite, mostly harmless. I might be wrong. I might be misremembering, possibly. It is a while ago, and my memory is. Was it Hitchhikers? Thank you, Robert. All a bit blurry. It's does seem like a long time ago. But hey ho. Earth mostly hot. Oh, that was it. Yes, thank you. Yes, happy memories. Right, sorry, that's a complete aside, but quite fun. So anyway, all right, well, let's revisit that. As I said at the top of the call, I will liaise with Robert Seffer and reschedule the DNS for EU discussion. So I'll confirm that via email when that will take place. So apologies for that not happening this week. And also I'll find out from the OARC team, get a sense of when the recordings may appear. But hopefully in the meantime, there's sort of plenty of stuff in the news, so plenty of things to catch up on anyway, such as the Echo session for top DNS session from last week, amongst various others that I ran through. So links to all of those in the weekly headlines email, and I'll also put them with a link to the recording of this call probably later on today, or more likely tomorrow now. I'll send that out via email, so you should have that. So thanks everyone for your time. We wrap up there, so slightly earlier than normal. Have a fantastic week, and look forward to catching up same time next week. So speak to you all then. Bye all.
Bye, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.